Welcome back. I want to talk about how to onboard a Windows Server 2016 computer to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint using Azure Security Center and Azure Defender. So I'm going to put a link in the video description to instructions on how to do this, but let's step through it together. I'm going to pull up the Azure portal and go to Security Center, and over on the left side, Pricing and Settings, choose My Subscription, and then I'm going to turn on Azure Defender for that subscription, and I'm going to enable it for servers. Now note this is a billable plan, so make sure you understand that, and also the first 30 days are free, so there's a trial if you want. Once that's turned on for both servers and Azure Defender, I'm going to click Save, and then I'm going to go to Auto Provisioning. And under Auto Provisioning, I need to set this up a little bit. I'm going to turn on Log Analytics Agent for Azure VMs, and I'm going to click on Edit Configuration. And I created a different workspace, and the reason why is so I can log other events, which could be useful as well for security purposes. And then once I apply that and click Save, I'm going to go down here to Threat Protection, or Threat Detection rather, and I'm going to make sure I enable this for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and click Save. I'll talk about Microsoft Cloud App Security in another video. Once that's done, the setup is complete. So now let's pivot over and actually create a virtual machine in Azure and watch it get onboarded. To create my VM, I'm going to choose my different variables here. I'm going to make sure that we're set to Windows Server 2016 as our image, choose my plan, get all that good stuff going, and then go ahead and choose my disks. I'm not going to do any advanced networking. I'm not going to do any advanced management. I'm going to turn off some of these items here, and not going to do anything else that's advanced, no tags, and we're going to just review and create this. Now, if this was production, obviously, I'd probably do a few other things here. And so let's give this a few moments to get created, and we'll come back and take a look. Now that the virtual machine is created, let's give it about an hour or so for it to get onboarded to Azure Security Center and onboarded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and we'll come back in about an hour. All right, we could see the virtual machine has been deployed and it's in a running state. And if we switch over to Defender for Endpoint and refresh the device inventory page, we should see that the device is now onboarded. And there it is, Serve 2016 YouTube demo. And there's the device. And if we switch over to Azure Security Center, here's Azure Security Center, we can see that there's the virtual machine. It's been onboarded to Azure Security Center as well, and Azure Defender is on. Perfect. And so if we switch over to the virtual machine and go to the RDP session, here we can see in the RDP session under Task Manager under Processes, Windows Defender ATP service is running. Awesome. So now let's generate a test alert. So let's go over to Defender for Endpoint, go down to Settings, down to Onboarding, choose Server 2016, and we're going to copy out this little PowerShell script, and then we're going to switch over to the RDP session and pull up a command prompt and run that PowerShell script. That's going to generate a test alert, and in just a few moments we should see an alert come through. Okay, and after a few moments, here's the test alert that got generated. And if we drill into it here, you can see it's on that virtual machine, and there's that PowerShell script we ran. Perfect. And if we switch over to device inventory, and here we could still see that machine is onboarded, and we have one active alert for that machine. Perfect. So this was really easy. All you have to do to onboard a Server 2016 machine to Defender for Endpoint is use Azure Security Center. And the moment it's onboard Azure Security Center and you've got Azure Defender enabled, it will automatically onboard it to Defender for Endpoint. Now, I know what you're thinking, Matt, you created this virtual machine in Azure. Yes, I did. So what about if it's not running in Azure? What do you do? Well, let's take a look. If my server is located on premises or in another cloud, I can use Azure Arc to be able to connect it into Azure and therefore manage it with Azure Security Center and Defender for Endpoint. So what I've done is gone through and added this to Azure Arc. I'll do another video on how to do this later. And this is now providing connectivity to that server on premises. So let's take a look at that server. Here it is. This is my server that's on premises. And you can see that on the processes, Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection Service Executable is running. And I already ran the detection test here. Now, it took about an hour or so once I added it to Azure Arc to also get added to Azure Security Center. So if you come over here to Security Center, go to Inventory, do a quick refresh. Here you can see that same on-premises server. Now, it says on monitor because I don't have some of the other agents deployed to it. But if I drill into this a little bit, and we scroll down, I've actually already installed the Log Analytics agent on it. And as you know, when you do that, it also installs Defender ATP, or Defender for Endpoint. So that's how you onboard an on-premises or another cloud Windows Server 2016 machine onto Defender for Endpoint. Again, it's super, super easy. Just connect it using Azure Arc, and from there, it will automatically onboard to Azure Security Center, give it about an hour, and it will also onboard to Defender for Endpoint. And there's the test alert for that on-premises server, and I can validate that connectivity is working. So that's how you onboard an on-premises or another cloud's 2016 server. Now let me show you one more thing of where, if you don't want to use Azure Security Center and Azure Defender, and you don't want to use Azure Arc, how else can you do this? So let's take a look at that. If you don't want to use Azure Security Center to onboard your Server 2016 machine to Defender for Endpoint, you've got two other options. The other option is you can use System Center Endpoint Configuration Manager, formerly known as SCCM, and that's actually pretty easy to do, and I'll provide a link in the video description for how to do that. Your other option is to use the Microsoft Monitoring Agent, the MMA agent, and again, I'll provide a link in the video description for that. So to do that, let's switch over to my Server 2016 device, and I've already done this, but let me just take you through the motion here. So I've downloaded the MMA agent, and then I've extracted it out to my downloads folder here. And then I went through and ran setup.exe in a silent mode, if you will. And I filled in two important pieces of information, my workspace ID and my workspace key. Now I got those from the onboarding screen here in Defender for Endpoint for Windows Server 2016. I got them right here, workspace ID and workspace key. And so I just insert those in there. No APM equals 1. That is an optional parameter. It just installs the agent without .NET. And if you look here, I also have accept end user license agreement. Perfect. So when I ran that, I gave it about an hour or so. And here you can see it, and within about an hour, it installed the Defender ATP service executable. Basically just turned it on, if you will, because it's already built into the OS. And at that point, it's onboarded into Defender for Endpoint. So if we go back to Defender Security Center here, look at my device inventory, we should see it show up here. And there it is, 2016 MMA only, that is it. And here you can see, there it is. So now let's just run a quick alert test to test connectivity. So we're just going to run that, open up a new command prompt, paste it in there, let that run for a moment, and we'll come back and we will check the alerts. Okay, after a couple of minutes, here we could see the server 2016 MMA only as a host name. There's the test alert. If we go over to my device inventory and we pull up that server and we go to alerts, there's a test alert. So connectivity is working, it's onboarded. So it's pretty easy. Again, all you gotta do is just install the MMA agent, and from there it will automatically onboard to Defender for Endpoint. Okay, folks, hopefully you found value in this. I apologize in advance. We went over on time a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I thought it was important that we cover the different methods to onboard Server 2016 to Defender for Endpoint using Azure Security Center, if it's in Azure, using Azure Security Center plus Azure Arc if it's on premises or in another cloud environment, and then using the Microsoft Monitoring Agent, regardless of where it may sit. And I'm not going to cover System Center Configuration Manager, but I'll leave a link in the documentation for that. Okay, take care, and we will see you in the next video.